Hey everybody, welcome to Teensy Vintage. This is Teresa. Today we're working in my large art journal and we're doing something a little spooky because Halloween is at the end of the week. It's very exciting. I love Halloween. We're going to start off with some collage and I'll be using some paper that I kind of mopped up some paint from the last project I worked on. So this is just a great example of, not wasting your art supplies. If you've got extra paint, put it on an old book page and maybe you'll use it in a future project. Just like this. So I've got this orange text book page, and I'm just gonna tear it up and start gluing some pieces down. And this is to give me some background, some texture, visual interest, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna put a piece of scrap paper down here because this glue stick was a little extra soft for some reason, and it kind of got gloppy, which is not typical for an Uhu stick. I like the bigger sticks. These are the smaller size, and they're just, I don't know, a little different. Maybe the formula is slightly different. Who knows? Either way, we are going to get a nice semi-colorful background. We've got bright orange, and we're going to add some bright yellow later. But this is going to end up being a moody, kind of rainy day looking piece, which I love. I love how this turned out. All right, so we're going to keep adding some old text here and just put it down, upside down, right side, whatever. Reading this text does not matter. Unless you want it to matter, if you want to put some strategic text in here, go for it. But that was not my aim. My aim was to just get some interesting textural, both textual and textural. Is that a word? Yes. Texture and text on the page. All right. Okay, now I'm gonna go in with this is a Dilutions paint, which is a craft paint. Very thin paint, acrylic. I'm adding water to it to make it even thinner. I want a moody watercolor look. So I'm gonna go around the page here and fill in quite a bit of the white space, but I am going to leave some of it white because I want to add some yellow and I want that yellow to be super yellow. So some of this is not going to get touched, not yet. So we're going to cover up this page, give it a nice even coat. I'm going over it a second time just to make sure it doesn't look too paintbrushy. I don't want to see a whole lot of paintbrush strokes. I just want to see color. And I think I mostly accomplished that here. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to make sure everything's nice and dry before we move on to our next step, which is to introduce, to hold the pages down. Hold on. They start to curl when you add media. Now we're going to add some yellow acrylic paint, and this is cadmium yellow light. And it's a very cheerful, very bright yellow. Added a little water using a wet brush. And you can see here where I put the yellow over the white, it is really bright. And where it goes over the other colors, it's muted. And that's fine. I love how it looks over the earlier paint, which actually I didn't tell you what it was. It's called Balmy Night. It's kind of a bluish gray. Think rain cloud, and you'll know what I'm talking about here. But yeah, and then I'm using this yellow paint to go around the edges of the paper I glued down, and it gives this kind of creepy glow effect. Um, it's hard to see here on the video. I've of course included some still photos at the end so you can see the details of this journal page, but just trust me, this going around the edge with the yellow just makes it look like it's kind of floating and there's an eerie light. Where's that eerie light coming from? We don't know. Uh, anyway, so here we go. And as you can see, I have quite a bit of yellow left. So what are we going to do? We're just going to put it on a book page and save that for another project. Okay. Waste not, want not, as my mom likes to say. And it's true, you know. You ever been stuck with that last little bit in the bottle and you're like, thank goodness I didn't waste any of this. Now I have this tiny bit. All right, so now I'm going to go and add a stencil. I picked this stencil from Joggles. It is called, what is it called? Graphic Floral. I picked it because it reminded me of some of the intricate designs on the gates and doors at cemeteries. It just kind of evoked that old feeling. And so I'm using Payne's Gray and I'm just going over this page, just, kind of in the center of the page. I really want my focal point to be in the middle here, but, you know, I'm going over the bright, bright colors, one, to push them back and tone them down, but two, what will happen is those bright colors are going to show through. Look at that really amazingly. This is so cool. All right, so we need a little more paint because I want to cover up a little bit more of that yellow. It's a bit intense. Um, and you can always go back and add a little more yellow later if you need to. So don't fret. Go with what feels good. And now I'm gonna try to pick up a little bit of the glops. It got a little gloppy there at the end. I think I went a little too fast. It's a delicate balancing act on your sponge to get just enough paint to go through the stencil, but not too much that you go under the stencil. Practice, practice, practice. This is fine. A lot of this gloppiness will be covered up by other things in a few minutes anyway. All right, now there's my creepy figure. This is a hooded figure carrying what looks like an urn. It's so cool. I got this little spooky set from Temu. I know, don't judge me. But they had a set of kind of all these different cemetery figures, hooded figures, angels, scrolls, that kind of stuff. Stuff you'd see in a cemetery. And I was like, I have to have that. Oh boy. So that's the figure we're going to use as our focal point. And I'm kind of just eyeballing where it's going to go. I'm adding gesso here to kind of help it stand out because it's dark gray. My background is dark gray and you won't see anything. So this gesso is just going to kind of provide a kind of a glowy background so that this figure will stand out. Yeah. And I'm also going to go around the page a little bit, just putting some gesso here and there with my fingers. Very organic looking. I know it kind of looks like a little bit of a mess, but I'm just kind of pushing back visually some of that intensity, and just kind of also tying the page together because, we want a little bit of everything here and there. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, all right, so now I'm adding a little bit more gesso with a bit of the Payne's Gray mixed in to get kind of a Payne's Gray gesso, just to kind of chill out some of that white. Again, it's just a balance. You'll know when you got it. You'll be happy. All right, now we're going to pick out some bits and bobs from just the tub of stuff. I need to go through this box shell and cull out some things that I just don't need. I've collected quite a bit of scraps, as you can see. But I pull out a few things that catch my eye. Let's see if any of them work. All right, so we've got this weird coin. We've got some fake film strip here. This is from 49 in Market, called Essential Film Strips in a color called Mariner, which is kind of a deep bluish gray. I really liked how that film strip looked over that white space. It just kind of glows. And apologies for the ring light glare. I didn't realize that everything's so dang glossy here. Anyway, just playing here. I thought these die cuts might be interesting, but I didn't like them. And I'm like, okay, well, this piece I know I like, so we're gonna go with this. Then I pulled out a couple of these vintage flowers. This is from an old Tim Holtz collection of die cuts, just like old sketchbook Victorian style flowers that I've had sitting in my stash forever. And I was like, ooh, cemetery and flowers. Yes. So that worked. So I was like, let's start making a composition here. And these flowers just, I don't know, they just worked. Um and now I'm trying to see if this card could go somewhere, and ultimately, I didn't like it. The pink wasn't right. So yeah. So now I'm going to glue these flowers down. First things first though, I'm going to mark where I want them to go with a pencil. I don't know about you, but sometimes I pick something up and then when it is time to put it back down with glue on it, I'm like, oh shoot, where does it go? So mark it with a pencil. There you go. And we're going to do the same for the large floral as well. Yeah, get any extra glue off of there. Just mark a couple spots, and that way you can put the piece right back down on your page exactly where you want it to go. No one will see the pencil. It's win-win. So if you have a second, go ahead and like this video if you're enjoying it, and hit that subscribe button. A lot of my viewers aren't actually subscribers, and I would love it if you'd become a subscriber. You'll get to watch even more videos like this one. Thanks, y'all. All right, now that art glitter glue dries really quickly, which is fantastic, but you got to know where you're going to put it. All right, so now I'm like, well, you know what? I want a little bit more of a glow, even more. So I got out a yellow Stabilo Woody. These are the really big pencils. These are technically sold for kids, but I use these all the time. They're great. You can use it dry, you can add water. They're fantastic. And I like the way it looks. Now I'm going to glue the figure to the film strip. And then because the film strip is translucent and I don't want blobs of glue to show through, I'm only going to glue where the figure is. That's a little pro tip for you. Now it is adhered and you can't see any glue. Yeah, pretty great. Okay. There's our friend, the yellow book page. Well, we're not using it in a future project. We're going to use it right now. I thought, we need to add some more stuff because the flowers are nice, but they don't really stand out or add any sense of time. And I was like, well, what about some flower petals? Nah, they look terrible. Okay, so we got rid of those. What about something else? Something like a die cut. I had a couple sets, so I went through and looked, and I came across this really cool looking, it looks like a beehive design, kind of a hexagon repeating pattern. So we're just going to run it through the die cut machine real quick. And here we go. Yeah. You can use these old pages for all kinds of stuff. And I'm going to use an awl here to dislodge the die cut from the die and put the machine away. It's a handy machine. Okay, and we're going to bring back our journal. Now I've lost the die cut. Where did it go? Oh yeah, it's under your journal, Teresa. Hello. Out of sight, out of mind. All right, so this die cut is too big for what I want to do. And I've cut off a piece, and now I'm going to try to see where it will go. Part of the problem I'm facing is that, yes, it does compete with the other yellow on the page. And so I'm like, okay, let's step back for a sec. I want to use this, but I also want to put some vintage ephemera in here. And these are all little pieces. They're all in the yellow family, which is why they're in the yellow box. That's how I organize things. But what I'm doing is I'm going in and I'm pulling out little pieces of tickets, signage, whatever, labels that are in the yellow family that I can put around this figure. And I find a number of things, and I'm just going to keep auditioning them. See if they work, see if I like how they look. We even tried the moon at one point. And I pull out some things that have yellow on them, And I'm like, okay, let's see if we can't figure this out. It needs something else. So I also pulled out my little box of nature uh, snippets, I guess. And we're going to add in some old labels and we're going to add in some night fauna, you know, moths, beetle, mushrooms, things that, live in the cemetery. Um, and a little bit of, signs and notes here. And I'm like, okay, cool, this is gonna work. I pulled out 6 items. I've got 3 labels and I've got 3 critters. And 3 is great because it's an odd number. And I'm just gonna go around my focal here and add the pieces. They end up being kind of a little bit of a triangle. Um, it's not necessarily one to one with the critters, but somewhat. Um, but yeah, tuck them behind the film strip, and I don't know, they just give a sense of time to this piece. That this is something old, which is right up my alley. Yeah, and then we glue our tiny beetle friend down. Yeah, now I feel like, okay, now we can go in with the honeycomb shape. And I tore it even more. We're going to add little tiny pieces of glue because it's so delicate. That's a nice thing about this glue applicator is it's got a fine tip on it and you can control just how much glue you put on there. And all it needs is a few little dots. And we're going to adhere that piece there. I'm going to use a napkin so I don't tear it and get any little globs. And I have this final piece and I'm like, okay, what are we going to do with you? I know I want to use it, but I'm just not sure where. And I'm like, okay, let's see, there or there or there. Just keep moving it around until you hit a spot and you're like, that feels right. Yeah, there you go. Your intuition will help you a lot. All right, well, it's time for a sentiment. So I'm going to pull out my own snippets here. This is snippet set 1. If you want a copy of this, you can get one in my Ko-Fi shop. I'll put the link in the description below. But it had a great sentiment on there. It said, this feeling of peace came over me. And I was like, yeah. I don't know about y'all, but when I'm in a cemetery, I do feel very peaceful. It's very quiet there. Well, everyone's dead, right? And so, yeah, I was like, this is great. And I'm going to zhuzh the sides with some vintage photo ink and just to give them a little bit of an aged look. And now I'm just figuring out where the heck do these need to go on this page. And right there seems to be the spot. Yeah. So let's glue those down. Just a little bit of glue. And I don't feel like they need any outlining or anything because they've got the ink around the edges already. And yeah. Just a little bit of white with a Stabilo Woody. Just a smidge around some of those florals at the top. It kind of gives a ghostly glow. We're going to add a little bit of mark making there with a micron pen from Pigma from Sakura. Okay, now here's where I should have stopped. I should have said, you know what, we're good. But I said, oh no, let's put one more stencil on there. And I pulled out this sapphire color. See, the bottle was trying to tell me, don't do it. Don't do it. There's a little dry paint up there. I was like, no, we're going to add some more. And, I hated it. I was like, oh no, that's terrible. Yeah, it just competes with the rest of the page. So I was like, all right, great. Now I got to fix this. It's okay. Don't panic. So I just got out the colors and the things I had previously used, which is the gesso and the Payne's Gray. And we're just going to sponge it over where I messed up. And we're going to kind of carry it around the page to darken up the edges, give the corners some more depth, and just kind of tie the page together. Yeah. And leave that middle part to be the fun chaos. And we're going to go in with a finger here just to give it a more organic look. Sometimes I can get a paint application with a finger that is just so much more satisfying than with a brush or a sponge. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes you just gotta finger paint. And we're just gonna go in with a little more paint. Yeah, just very gently. You don't need to use a heavy hand here. I even added a little bit of water just to kind of help the paint move around even more because I already had the color I wanted. Now I just wanted to kind of blend a little bit. And as you can see now, it's got a really nice dark atmosphere around it, which is fine. So in the end, it worked. I'm very happy with it. I'm going to stamp the date and sign it, and we're good to go. Thank you so much for watching, y'all. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next time.